I remember you told me that there were two things that people, sort of hope to hope to achieve when they engage with brands. So I was wondering if you could talk about those things and sort of like the agency's philosophy behind branding and kind of what you do, and how you can help brands sort of articulate their brand voice.
Yeah. So, I think that the two major things that people really look for in brands at this point, because there's so many out there, is really something that makes them feel like a sense of belonging and community, something that really resonates with them internally. I think that for, millennials in particular, they are sort of motivated to follow a brand or purchase from a brand when they feel that emotional connection with them, and understand what their message is, their mission is, and again, they can get really behind that. The other piece of it is really that promise of a better life, right? Like when you're starting a business, there's a few things that you really have to ask yourself when you're sort of establishing a visual language and even copy, right? Like what your tone of voice is going to be, and that it's ultimately like, what do I represent? What do I want to be able to give people with my product or with my service? The other is, what are other people in the industry doing? There's a need to really ground yourself in that like market and competitor research, because ultimately you're not sort of living or operating in a vacuum. The last part of it is sort of what we're talking about now, which is target audience. And I think that really understanding who your target market is kind of everything, because one of the things that I say to people all the time is like, you could make the most amazing, effective advertisement for pacifiers, right? It could be like incredible, but if you put it in a motorcycle magazine, no one's going to care. Like, it's just not placed correctly. You're not putting it in front of the right people. And it's like, I actually do have a case study to show that I think is really interesting in terms of making sure that you are branding for your target audience. And it really does make a huge, huge difference. And it can
Show it,
be
show it.
okay, cool. Like, I really believe that it can make or break the success of your company.
And so do you have like a process that you put into place when a brand comes to you and says, I want to launch a business, or I need help, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
help me.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the questions that we always ask them, right? It's like, what do you represent? What do you want to be? What do you want to inspire in people? Who are you speaking to, right? Like, who is your audience? And what are the other people in your industry doing? And I once we kind of establish that, and at the very beginning, it's mostly sort of conjecture, right? And one of the things that I really love about marketing is that it allows for data to be collected, and there's a real yin and yang between like the creative and the marketing, because they kind of inform one another, right? Like, you think that you might have nailed something entirely, but then you put it out there in the universe and people aren't necessarily responding to it in the way you might have imagined. And so really being able to collect that data allows you to optimize for the look and feel of your brand, for the kinds of advertising that you're putting out there. I mean, even things like advertisements that are animated versus still. I mean, one would kind of assume that animation is always beneficial, but not necessarily. So really being able to figure that out is important, and that's one of the things that I really loved about what Erin was able to sort of share with me. And it's really being able to understand what is going on in the marketplace and respond to needs.